It's 6 p.m. now, Cairo local time. It's a very good evening to our viewers and welcome to Channel 2's English News Bulletin. I'm Angie Meher joining you for the evening. We begin straight away with a look at the headlines. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi meets Prime Minister Madbouli and Central Bank Governor and the Minister of Finance. Gaza Civil Defense says 19 people killed in Israeli occupation strikes. Drone strikes rock Port Sudan in third day of attacks. Welcome back. Now the details in full. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi presided over a meeting on Tuesday with the Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli and the Central Bank Governor Hassan Abdullah and the Minister of Finance Ahmed Kushuk. During the meeting, President el-Sisi emphasized the necessity of continuing and strengthening coordination between fiscal and monetary policies to ensure their alignment with the state's economic vision. The presidential spokesperson said during the meeting, President el-Sisi reiterated the significance of focusing on increasing foreign currency reserves, as well as fulfilling the necessary financing needed to enhance development efforts, sustainability and strong reduction of debt of the state's budget entities, serving and working to reduce external debt. The president was also briefed on macroeconomic indicators and the economic structural reforms implemented by the government as part of efforts to improve economic and financial indicators. The efforts aim to improve financial and economic indicators through sectoral programs covering various economic activities, whilst continuing efforts to strengthen and expand social protection programs targeting the vulnerable groups. The meeting also reviewed exerted efforts to expand productive activities of different sectors in a bid to achieve the best outcomes to contribute to contain inflationary pressures, encourage the private sector to drive economic growth and employment, as well as attract local and foreign investments. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Migration and Egyptian Expatriates Affairs, Badr Abdelati, pointed to his keenness to speed the finalizing procedures to spend the second tranche of the European financial bunch, which amounts to 4 billion euros. Abdelati's comments came in a phone call with European Economic Commissioner Valdis Dombrovskis. During the call, Abdelati asserted his aspiration to encourage European investment in Egypt in light of the government priorities to attract foreign investment and boost the private sector, in addition to facilitate procedures for investors. Also, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Egyptian Expatriates Affairs, Badr Abdelati, held a joint press conference with the visiting Montenegro Foreign Minister following talks in Cairo on Tuesday. Addressing the press conference, Abdelati said that their discussions focused on boosting ties across various fields, developments in the Middle East and Egyptian efforts to reach a ceasefire in Gaza. Abdelati said economic ties topped the agenda of the talks, adding that the two sides discussed establishing joint long-term partnerships between Egypt and Montenegro. Abdelati noted joint talks also tackled terrorism, illegal immigration and the crisis in Ukraine. For his part, Montenegro's foreign minister hailed ties with Egypt, adding his country appreciates Cairo's efforts in supporting regional security and stability. On the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Immigration and Egyptian Expatriates, Badr Abdelati also affirmed Egypt's full support for the Palestinian Authority as the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. His remarks came during a phone call with the newly assigned Secretary of the Palestinian Liberation Organization's Executive Committee, Azam al-Ahmad. During the call, Abdelati asserted Egypt stands with the Palestinian people in this critical historic time. For his part, Al-Ahmad expressed his deep admiration for Egypt's support for the Palestinian people in their struggle to attain their legitimate rights. The Egyptian foreign minister followed with authorities in the United Arab Emirates the position of a stuck ship, Petro 1, which is carrying 7 Egyptians and others of multiple nationalities, which faced an emergency crisis off the coast of the United Arab Emirates. Foreign Ministry asserted the Egyptian embassy in Abu Dhabi and consulate in Dubai have made their contacts and are receiving information about this ship's stoppage in territorial waters of the UAE, where the competent UAE authorities were contacted to take the necessary measures and ensure the safety of the ship's crew. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs on Tuesday rejected a plan by Israeli occupation authorities to shut down the existing aid system in Gaza. The OCHA spokesperson Jan Lerk in Geneva said that they did not accept a proposal and a plan that does not live up to the core fundamental humanitarian principles of impartiality, neutrality and independent delivery of aid. He added Israel's plan is designed to further control and restrict supplies, which is the opposite of what is needed. Meanwhile, Gaza's Civil Defense Agency said Israeli occupation forces airstrikes killed at least 19 people in the war-ravaged Palestinian territories north. The agency said its teams found 15 martyrs and 10 people wounded, mostly children and women, after an Israeli occupation strike on 3 apartments northwest of Gaza City. 4 other people were killed and 4 wounded in a strike in a house north of Gaza. Israeli occupation blocked the entry of all aid into the... Egypt has condemned the targeting of infrastructure and vital utilities in the Sudanese cities of Port Sudan and Kassala, calling for a ceasefire that ensures protection of the Sudanese people. A statement by the Foreign Ministry warned against the repercussions of the latest escalation and its negative impacts on efforts to reach a ceasefire deal, protect civilians and the delivery of humanitarian aid. It also stressed its rejection to targeting civilian establishments in contradiction to humanitarian and international laws, which jeopardizes daily activities. Earlier, drones struck the airport and targeted an army base in Port Sudan on Tuesday. The third straight day, the Sudanese army-aligned government seat of power has come under attack. The strikes come a day after the country's main fuel depot was hit, causing a massive blaze just south of the eastern city, which had until Sunday been considered a safe haven for hundreds of thousands of displaced people fleeing the 2-year war. Foreign correspondents reported loud explosions at dawn and plumes of smoke over the Red Sea coastal city. Airport officials said a drone hit the civilian section of the Port Sudan airport. 2 days after the facility's military base was first attacked in drone strikes, the army blamed on the paramilitary rapid support forces. And back home, Egypt and China wrapped up joint military drills dubbed Eagles of Civilization 2025. The drills saw a number of multi-purpose fighter jets involved in joint maneuvers. Fast jets, helicopters and transport planes flew high above Sahara, hailing the inaugural joint Air Force exercises with Egypt as a signal of deepening military ties and shifting alliances. Beijing's Air Force said the drills represented a new starting point and a significant milestone in military cooperation between the two countries. And to Yemen, where the Houthis on Tuesday said 4 people were killed and 39 wounded in an Israeli airstrike. The latest Israeli occupation attacks on the Houthi territory came as regional tensions soar anew over Israel's plan to expand operations in Gaza and displace much of its population. Houthis said 3 citizens were killed and 35 others wounded at a cement factory, and a person died and 4 others were wounded. Houthis blame both the U.S. and Israel for the attack. The French President Emmanuel Macron welcomes the Syrian leader Ahmed al-Shara to Paris on Wednesday for his first visit to Europe. The Élysée Palace said that this meeting is part of France's historic commitment to the Syrian people, who aspire for peace and democracy. Macron will also emphasize his demands on the Syrian government, primarily the stabilization of the region, including Lebanon, and the fight against terrorism. European Union countries do not expect any major new restrictions in the next package of sanctions against Russia, which the Commission is due to share with member states on Tuesday. We have the details.
EU diplomats said the European Union countries do not expect any major new restrictions in the next package of sanctions against Russia, which the Commission is due to share with member states on Tuesday. The package of proposals has come sooner than expected, they said, and member states were not informally consulted in advance on the contents, which has been the norm for previous Russian measures. In mid-April, sources said the Commission's work on new measures was moving slowly, and any new restrictions were not expected to materialize until June. The sources said the package is expected to contain tighter export controls, as well as new listings related to sales of technology, which can be used by Russia's military and shadow fleet vessels. Moscow has built up a vast fleet operating outside of Western networks to export its oil and buy ammunition. One of the sources added the aim was to show the 27-member bloc can still agree on something against Russia after repeated veto threats from Hungary's Russia-friendly government on Russia sanctions. France's foreign minister said that last week the EU would try to coordinate the timing of its next package with the United States. Officials in Washington have finalized the new economic sanctions against Russia to intensify pressure on Moscow to embrace U.S. President Donald Trump's efforts to end its war in Ukraine. However, it was not immediately clear whether Trump would sign off on the new restrictions, which include new targets, such as Russia's gas behemoth Gazprom.
And on the ground, all 4 international airports around Moscow temporarily suspended flights on Tuesday as Russian forces intercepted more than 100 Ukrainian drones fired at almost a dozen Russian regions. The Defense Ministry in Moscow said 9 other regional Russian airports were also temporarily stopped as drones struck areas along the border with Ukraine and deeper inside Russia. According to Russia's Civil Aviation Agency, the Defense Ministry said it was the second straight night that the Moscow region reportedly was targeted. Drone assault threatened a planned unilateral 74-hour ceasefire in the more than 3-year war announced by President Vladimir Putin. And the United Nations Security Council has urged India and Pakistan to ease tension and avoid military conflict as hostilities between the nuclear-armed rivals surge after a deadly attack on tourists in disputed Kashmir. The UN called for dialogue and diplomacy to diffuse tension and avoid military confrontation and peacefully resolve issues. Meanwhile, UN Chief Antonio Guterres urged nuclear-armed foes, Pakistan and India, to exert maximum restraint and step back from the brink of war. Moving to some business news, the Prime Minister, Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, asserted that the Egyptian government is providing all the means of support required to facilitate the work of companies in all business sectors, adding that American companies enjoy great support from government agencies. His remarks came during his meeting with the CEO of visa company Ryan Masonry and a company delegation, where they reviewed the company's plans to hold their investments in Egypt during the upcoming period. For his part, Masonry asserted his company's commitment to investing in Egypt, highlighting that the Egyptian market is one of the most important markets for visa worldwide. Meeting was also attended by the Central Bank Governor Hassan Abdullah, who stressed the importance of the distinguished partnership between the Central Bank and Visa, which represents one of the most important companies in the field of electronic payment. And the US dollar weakened against major currencies, including the yen and the euro on Monday, as markets faced continued uncertainty from President Donald Trump's tariff policies and their impact on the economy. Other Asian Pacific currencies, including the Australian dollar, gained against the US dollar. The Aussie reached as high as 0.649, its highest since December last year. The dollar was down 0.73% against the Japanese yen at 143.885. And moving to the exciting world of sports, Paris Saint-Germain received a timely boost ahead of their Champions League semi-final second leg against Arsenal as forward Dembélé returned to full training. The France international, who scored the decisive goal in PSG's 1-0 first leg win, the Emirates Stadium had been a concern after picking up a muscle injury against Arsenal. Dembélé, however, took part in a squad session at the club's training ground and is expected to be available for the fixture at Parc des Princes. PSG are bidding to reach their first Champions League final since 2020. With that, we wrap up our English news bulletin here on Channel 2. I'm Angie Meher. Thank you for watching.